Hello everyone, I'm just here to explain to you how to get started on the experiment for the oil pollution. So first of all, you have to go to Schoology and you have to open week 6 and then open the California Wetland Project Data Collection Sheet in CAMI. So make sure you open it in CAMI because you're going to be writing in it. So I've already done that here. And so of course, this experiment is going to be looking at, do California wetlands or do wetlands help to filter oil pollution and keep the oil from running into the ocean? So the first thing you have to do is to, of course, list the elements of the model wetland that is the control. So we used paint, a paint pan, clay, gravel, sponges, moss, toy animals, and buildings. Actually, for the oil one, we didn't really use the toy animals and buildings, so you can take that off. And then you want to type in, 1/4 cup of oil. Each trial. Right? Now, before we start that, you want to go ahead and develop your scientific question. So my example for the flooding was, if the vegetation is removed from the wetland, will the land flood more than if the vegetation is still present? What would your experimental question be to describe what we're going to do with this wetland? Here's our model wetland. If we pour with the wetland, will the wetland protect the ocean, our little ocean down here, from will it block some of the oil pollution? All right. So think of a question similar to that. That wasn't a very great example, so don't use that. But think of a good question. It should be sort of an if that will happen, will this happen type of question. And then, what is your independent variable? For all of our experiments, it's going to be the same thing. The control has the wetland, and then the experimental trials don't. That's our change. We're taking the wetland away. So what happens without the wetland is our experiment. Don't worry about doing number 3. We're going to just cross off number 3. All right. And then from there on, now you have to develop a hypothesis. What do you think is going to happen in the experiment? Do you think that it's going to, if you remove the wetland, will the ocean have more oil? Something like that. So it should be an if-then statement. If you remove the wetland, then the oil will flow more into the ocean, or something to that effect. And then, of course, we're going to do our data table. So as you watch the experiment, take notes on the data, all right? And I'll show you how to do that quantitatively when everything is done. And then we're going to talk, next time we meet, we'll talk more about analyzing the data and the discussion and the conclusion and all of that stuff. So just be paying attention as the experiment goes, and then you will be able to do it. All right, here we go. I'm going to speed up through the parts that are like speed upable. All right, this is experiment 3. I'm making a big mess over there. We're going to look at how oil spills, how wetlands impact oil spills. The 250 mils of water, and instead of food coloring this time, we're just going to put straight oil. So I'm going to take about a 1/4 cup of oil and pour it into our wetland. Now this is going to accumulate over time because it's not something we're going to be able to rinse out. So if you look here, what I did was I made these little flaps of paper bag. So each time we do this experiment, we're going to look at how much oil gets into the water, and I'm going to capture that oil by putting a piece of paper bag on here. So I'm just going to do that. And what's going to happen is if there's oil, the paper bag, when it dries, will have oil spots on it. So after 1/4 of a cup of oil, see what happens when it dries. All right, so we're going to do that again because we can't really rinse it. So on this one, we're going to look at how much oil will it take before we can register oil in the water. Seconds. All right. You still see some green from the food coloring coming out. All right. So 2. Another 1/4 cup. Oops. All over my trees. Right. Oh, I'm starting to see a little bit of oil coming out now. So that was 3/4 of a cup of oil. And look, you can start to see the oil spots now. And here's the last one. This is another 1/4 cup. And now what we'll do is when we look at the results, we'll count up how many oil spots there are. You can see the wetland really holding it back, really keeping it from going in there. But you can see the oil now on the surface. So, oh wow, yeah, look at that. Okay, it looks like a fish. So there's a lot. Oh, we'll get it on this side. All right. All right, so that shows you the oil experiment. So I'm going to show you the quantitative way to measure that after we do the other one, the experimental one with no wetland. So this was with a wetland. How do I stop recording?